Welcome back, everybody. This week we have yet another very special guest with us this week. I want everyone to welcome to the show Jay Sandlin. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Hey.
Hey, I'm glad I made it here live to be on the show. Now,
Yeah.
I forgot to ask, guys, are we audio or video? Can they see me?
Yeah, they can see
Yeah.
you and hear you. Yeah.
All right, I will
Yeah.
keep my hands where we all can see them. Because, man,
Above
we've been
the
in
screen.
quarantine. We've been in quarantine a long time. You know what I'm saying? And
Well, the best thing about video interviews is you don't have to wear pants. You know, this is
how do you know I am wearing?
yeah.
pants?
I'm not assuming the pants. You know, it's fine.
No, I'm repping my dojo today, man.
Oh yeah,
I rep
that's
the
awesome.
Dojo Eagle Fang.
That is awesome.
I
love
just
that.
finished season 3 of Cobra Kai. We've got. I'll just jump right in. We've got a episode upcoming of our podcast Geekopedia,
Mhm.
which just hit a 2-year mark with over 100 episodes.
Nice.
We had a triple. Actually, it's a quadruple podcast. 4 podcasts came together for a group watching of The Next Karate Kid on Netflix. So
nice.
by this time this comes out, that should have dropped soon. But you can check that out on our podcast, Geekopedia. Find it at jsandlin.com, where you can find out my social media, Twitter, Instagram, and any book releases I've got going on. Probably also best if you want to know the releases, you can sign up for a newsletter that goes out. Yeah, I try not to wear out my welcome. I appreciate anybody that subscribes, and I respect your inbox enough not to start throwing out those emails like shuriken. You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
there are comic book writers who are basically, I call them like Michelangelos. They're always just throwing out their stuff, and
Yeah.
you gotta hustle
Yep.
to get your stuff. But at the same time, I won't overload you with updates just when things are happening, like right now with the release we've got coming up on the 31st.
Yeah. So let's
Actually, I think it's actually been moved back to April the 7th in some shops
Oh, okay.
as well.
So-
I just heard that today, in fact.
As much, I mean, I can sit here and talk for over an hour about Cobra Kai, but
And I'll go to bed.
yeah, I love that show.
Hey, let's come
but-
back and do a podcast on it sometime.
Yeah, let's do it. But let's
I'll have you guys on mine next time.
Yeah,
and we'll
okay.
do that.
Oh, deal.
Talk about that.
So let's talk about the H.H. Holmes. What is this book? And I mean, you said it's delayed a little bit, so we'll talk about that. But give us this plot synopsis of this this horror book you've created.
Well, it's interesting that you use those terms because I didn't create.
Well,
H.H. Holmes,
yeah,
and
I have heard about him.
just
Over
a moment.
yeah.
I didn't create H.H. Holmes, and there are a lot of ways you could question who did. For those who don't know, he is a real life, or was a real life individual. He was known as the American Jack the Ripper, but he's known to have killed a lot more.
Mhm.
And I got to put my research skills to use and dive into some documentaries, some books, web pages, and really learn about the things he did. When Zenescope first gave me the pitch back in November of 2020, I guess it was,
Mhm.
and they said that they wanted a story for the Tales of Terror Quarterly. So that's an anthology, which is kind of free form. If you're not familiar with it yet, you can kind of have any kind of story. Sometimes they've posted like 4 short stories. Sometimes they'll have one, start to finish story, which this one is. Zenescope announced earlier this year that they were making a shift toward focusing on more one-shots in original graphic novels and TPBs over just monthly 20-page floppies, maybe a quarterly 64 to 72-page release. So you get a bit more binge for your buy, and when you have that on your pull list, you may get it. They've got it worked out. There's some schedule where you're never without one for maybe 6 weeks or so.
Mhm.
If you've got them on your pull.
Yep.
So that's where you talk to your local comic shop, make sure they're on your pull, and you can get stuff like the Tales of Terror Quarterly, which works like a Tales of the Crypt anthology. Except our Crypt Keeper at Zenescope, I mean, I may be biased, but she's a lot hotter. You can see her on one of the covers for this book that you guys were talking about.
Yep.
Her name is Ceres, goddess of death, or a death goddess, and she's the kind of the gatekeeper or the guardian of the anthology.
Okay.
She doesn't appear in this story in the H.H. Holmes. It's very much a mix of past and present when a string of killings at a Chicago hotel in the present, known as the Gemini, raises some suspicions that there might be a copycat killer of H.H. Holmes on the loose in the city again.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes this book really special, we took two art teams and devoted the script from the beginning. We said the script would be composed of scenes from the past, scenes in the present, and how they all come together and how H.H. Holmes and his legacy runs through them all.
Mm-hmm. And it's, I mean, yeah, there's the tale of him. The truth about H.H. Holmes is rooted there too. I mean, like you said, you did your research. And
the truth is there. Everything that H.H. Holmes does in the comics and that he does in his scenes set in the past happened. And I adapted them and put them in kind of in order. It's kind of like playing with puzzle pieces a little bit. You might rearrange and move and shift, but broadly from start to finish, I tried to cover the actual things that happened. It's almost like reading about an Al Capone meets Jack the Ripper.
Yep.
Because Holmes was a killer. He, if for people who don't know, in the 1890s, he acquired some land that had been a drugstore, and he converted the building into a 3-story hotel. And he said it was for the World's Fair, but in reality, he was killing people in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even how, you would think someone would notice if you go to a hotel and you die, and that's a pattern that they might catch on to it.
Yeah, you would think, right?
You would think. He was smart. He was smart enough not just to avoid capture and stage his crimes and hide bodies. He committed so much financial fraud. He was almost like a Ponzi or a Wolf of Wall Street guy, running these schemes with life insurance. And in my day job, I don't know if I talk about it very much. If you follow me on social media, I usually don't, but I've sold insurance and financial services for over a decade. So I was interested to read how much the real H.H. Holmes did with life insurance fraud and collecting on his victims and then defrauding banks. He was a bit of a trump. He would go to a bank, get everything handed to him, never pay it back. That was what eventually took him down. It wasn't even the murders. That almost came as an after effect.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's great. But what really makes this story, you're going to get the history of it, but it really is, I have all the credit for the art teams. And we had two of them. One art team was doing the past and one art team was doing the present.
Okay.
And we would assign the pages, we would assign the panel numbers, after the script was written, and they would just divide and conquer and make something with their own unique styles, but still fits together. And I'm just I'm in awe of the work they did.
Yeah, and I think that adds another layer to it of the art change in the past and then going to the present. I think that adds a little more to the story.
Oh yeah,
too.
you read it. I forgot.
Yeah.
I already
forgot.
I'm just rambling on about it like you've never heard of it, but I guess it's if it just came out, depending on when you're listening, it may be April 7th before it's available, but it should still be on Comixology if you're into getting it digitally. I recommend asking your local comic shop for one of all 3 covers. There's 3 great covers that we had talked about. Which one did you say you ordered, Michael?
I liked the house one of like there's a house and like a face. That's the
I'm a big fan of that one too.
David Seidman cover.
It's kind of like a cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
It's the hotel.
Yep.
And being inside of the mind of a killer. And if you look at that cover, I'll tell anybody you need a physical copy, but if you have a digital copy, make sure you zoom in on the red areas.
Oh, okay.
And don't forget to look deep in those red areas, or you will miss a lot of very intricate details that Dave put into that. I think I saw him post it just on his own account, and he had like probably over 7,000 likes on it. Just,
Oh, wow.
saying, hey, look what I did.
Yeah.
And, and then I can't get 5 likes, for my. It's like, I didn't draw this, but someone else drew this because I put some words together.
Right.
Me writer. Hear me
Look,
write.
look at these letters I put together.
Look at these letters. Yeah. Yeah. It's like you worthless. You're so worthless. All you did was there's only 26 of them. All you did was put them in an order. No, I've had so much fun working with, I've never spoken to the artist directly.
Oh, wow.
That's why I wouldn't be able to just name them off the top of my head.
Yep.
Because it's a big coordination. Zenoscope has kept me in every step of the way through the stages of comic production, from finalizing the scripts. The writer's job wasn't necessarily done. I got to rubber stamp layouts, inks, colors, and then look back at the fully lettered pages. And I could throw in my suggestions. I tried not to throw in too many because I really wanted the artist to take it from there. But I would throw them in and I would answer questions, and we all just had such a great experience working with Rachel, the assistant editor on this group. It just felt very smooth, and I said that to Rachel when we were done. I said, this was a pretty smooth experience. I had a great time overall. And she said, yes, it felt like a complex book, but we did get through it pretty smoothly. So I don't know how that came across when you read it. I'm still kind of interested to hear reactions. I've not had any reactions yet, really. I'm coming off dropping the review copies yesterday, and Zenoscope doing the same, and I was trying to get some out too. And then today I just got up and said, I've got to go ride the 4-wheeler. And then I made sure I was leaving early enough. I had plenty of time, but just like I said when I got on the call with you guys, I was 20 minutes late.
Yeah, it's all good.
I got lost in the woods. Literally got lost in the woods.
Happens to the best of us.
Oh, it was great though. I had a great ride in the woods. I needed to get away, but yeah. Sorry, I got a little lost coming back.
It's all good.
So, Zenoscope, first of all, from you talking, it seems like they work things a little bit differently from the other comic companies that we've heard about. Like, they set you up with an artist? Like, so you pitched the idea, or they came to you,
no,
and then they just set up the artist, or is it an artist that you picked out?
All right, so let's talk about that, because when you say ways that you hear of making comics, and for people who don't know, maybe if you've never written comics or maybe just thought about writing comics, there's 2 big ways to write them. Zenoscope, like other companies I've worked with, Mad Cave Studios, Black Box Comics, they offer a work for hire. And that means that typically they're bringing something to the table in terms of an idea. It could be a short pitch, or it could be some detailed pages. In this case with H.H. Holmes, they came to me with a page. I only communicated with Dave Franchini at Zenoscope to get the outline the way that we wanted, based on just like a page description. So that was work for hire. I just took their idea, wrote the script, we finalized the script, and then from there, the other pieces don't cross my path. We work through the editor, who was our assigned editor, Rachel, and Rachel communicated with the artist and back to me. So no, I have nothing to do with a work for hire project on who else is on the team, usually. The other types of comics that I've been working on and making are creator owned. Could be with a company like Scout, for instance.
Right.
Totally random name I picked there. But Scout could be a place that I'm not saying I could be making one, but if it was a place like Scout, wink, wink, I could make a creator-owned series. And in that case, it's just like what you say. I am hiring the artist. I am hiring the colorist. We, with some outfits, like with a Scout, for instance, they also team you up with an editor, but that's it. They can also introduce you to professional logo designers. They are on their staff. You can hire them freelance. So we are working on some of that with other comics I've made. But no, with Zenoscope, I had nothing to do with picking the creative team. They just picked me for this one. Right.
Okay. And then something that's always I've been curious about with Zenoscope, and this is not a dig at Zenoscope. It's just kind of an observation. I've helped a retailer in the past with ordering, and I remember one time we were sitting down looking at Zenoscope stuff, and he's like, "I don't order any of their stuff. What am I missing here?" And one of the things that every Zenoscope book tends to have is usually a sexualized woman on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious about that in terms of like their brand and how why is that part of their brand?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I didn't really see it that way, so I hadn't really thought about it, honestly. This was my first book working with them on it. I know that they showed me 3 covers, 1, 2, 3, and one of them I knew would be the Death Goddess because they usually have a cover for her for this anthology, so I wasn't really surprised to see that.
Okay.
And then another was the other, I can't remember if that's a character or if it was meant to be like a French maid, but just in real life, H.H. Holmes was a killer of maids and butlers and people who he employed. So I can't say I've gone through their whole catalog. I've read a lot of Neverland books, and I have seen some of what you said, but it's just reflecting the character that's really in the pages. And I think that they had asked some people about that too. I saw that they put a question online. If you something that they call these, you might call it a cheesecake cover. It's like, so do you? And they just kind of put an open question: do you have a problem with them? Does it make you less likely to buy? With some of the other covers I've seen that they've done, I don't know if I think it's still there. But I think it's really just a mix. It is a lot of what's in the story. So I just say open the story and find out. I mean, we were kind of taught don't judge a book by its cover. And that was to encourage me to read them. Yeah. Now to say, well, don't read a book because of its cover is kind of the same thing. Because I grew up in the very conservative type culture where that was just demonized. And yes, like my upbringing, my parents probably wouldn't have let me buy that cover.
Yeah, right.
But,
same here.
But as we've seen, the danger of toxic masculinity lends itself to suggesting if we say the cover's the problem, well, then it's not. Then doesn't that relieve the one of responsibility who is so disturbed or set off by those images? Doesn't it? Isn't it almost an excuse to say let's get rid of things like that? Because if they can't, then they can't control themselves.
Right.
Well, guess what? If you can't fucking control yourself, we're not the ones who need to change for you.
Yeah, they don't need to change the covers, right?
So
exactly.
That's probably getting kind of deep for a drawing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, isn't that that's what it is? Right. It's a drawing. Yeah. Are you really so? So no, I don't see that. I mean, I'm sure you could take me through cover by cover, and we could say, well, was that gratuitous? Who draws the line for gratuitous? What's the story inside? Why is the cover here? Which is a question that I really enjoy asking. What is a cover going to be, and why is it here? And that, Chris, goes back to what you were talking about with the different types of ways of making comics. When I'm work for hire, I may or may not have a say in the cover. In the case of my first comic was Mad Cave Studios, where I was hired as part of their talent search, and I was given the book. They gave me a prompt, and that was it. They said they wanted an underdog wrestling story.
Oh, wow.
So that became Over the Ropes. And Volume 1 trade paperback is available now. I kind of have to... I've been happy the last few days because it took a while, but the Hurricane from WWE, Shane Helms, read it and tweeted about it.
Oh, nice.
I felt so cool because I remember going to WCW Thunder and seeing him as freaking 3 count.
Yeah.
You remember that? Did you watch pro wrestling?
Oh, I used to watch it. Yeah.
Okay.
I used to. Yeah, I was definitely.
So
really
I'm just like, and I've loved the Hurricane when he went on to WWE and he wrestled The Rock and beat The Rock in one night, and he was this superhero underdog character.
Yep.
And I thought about all the wrestlers I'd loved over the years, the colorful guys, the face painters like the Ultimate Warrior, the Road Warriors, and Sting. Great Muta. and I made a character called the Phoenix. That's the star of Over the Ropes, and that was a work for hire. Even though I came up with all the ideas, it was what they gave me and what I made of it, and then they had to approve it. They ultimately decide what goes in. And so they ultimately got to decide the covers, but they gave me a lot of input on them. And that's because as the writer, I was hired first or at the same time as the artist. Zenoscope has their schedule planned where it seems that they have to get covers commissioned well ahead of time before the writer can even begin. And I think that's really where a lot of the stories begin, Chris, is with the cover, because they have to have those ready for pre-orders. They have to have those ready for Previews World.
Mm-hmm.
So I found cover art for my comic that existed before the interior pages had been started.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And that was blowing my mind because I was like, how do they know this is what it's going to be?
Yeah, right.
But for the timing to work, for them to make these books on a schedule, and they work the tightest schedule that I have seen, and they work it well. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine that has to deal with what do you call it when someone throws a wrench in your gears? Just like any jobs, from time to time, people leave projects. People have to go on and accept another gig. Everybody's doing what they can to get by in the past year.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that we have been able to, through COVID and quarantines and across state lines and country lines, put together this story about horror in America, a place where a killer, in just not that long ago in the 1890s, just made Chicago his hunting grounds.
Yeah, right.
And went after women and the vulnerable and the gullible. Everybody was really stupid to him.
Yeah.
Just a reign of terror on it. And then what if the same thing happens again in the present day?
Right.
That's kind of what the story asked.
Awesome.
Yeah, to put the record straight, I personally don't have a problem with the covers. I mean, it's the covers or whatever, but I will say that it was surprising to me when I actually opened the book and I read it, and it's exactly what you said. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
And I guess myself, and I know there's plenty of people out there like me, have been judging these books by their cover for so long, because it wasn't what I expected when I got it. I really enjoyed the story, and it didn't have those elements in it. So I've always found that to be kind of, you're right in everything you say, but it's just kind of a surprising decision for a company to be like, this is what we're going to do for all of our books. And
well, I'd say
so that was why I asked. Yeah. I'm curious on what the decision.
That's a fair question. It's totally fair. I would just say mainly keep an eye on the releases they've got to come this year and see what kind of covers are to come, because I have seen some that are to come. I can't. I'm trying. There's things I can't say, but I think they kind of hear that. And I would say just wait and see some things to come. I might be some other things that I may or may not be a part of.
All right. Just a little bit of
that out there.
Insider info. Maybe or
first.
Yeah.
I didn't. It's nothing insider. I just stated the fact that this was my first Zenoscope book. Yep. I think I let you in the email. It's not my last I'll have this year come out.
Yeah, and you had asked us, because we read the book, how it flowed, and I thought it's surprising to me you never worked with, you just worked through the editor, but that might have contributed to how the book, had such a nice flow to it. I mean, there wasn't like you're reading it and you go to the past, it's like hard stop or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's like it almost interrupts the book. It flowed pretty nicely for those 70-something pages that it was. So
74 pages.
74 pages.
74 pages of story for only $8.99.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry
Come on.
for the quick pitch there.
Yeah, no, pitch it all you want. That's what you're here for. So yeah. But
let me ask you this then. Yeah. Which scenes did you have a preference for past or present scenes? Or do they seem different? Or
I liked the murder mystery in the present, but I didn't know much about H.H. Holmes, so I even I did a little research after the book, so I really did appreciate the past scenes as well. Of oh wow, this guy really did these Ponzi schemes, like insurance fraud while killing people.
Yeah.
Like I like the fact that he had his own hotel and was killing people in it. Like nobody noticed. Like, so I really appreciated like the education of the past scenes, but also like, oh, this murder mystery is happening, and the suspense of like, oh, there's traps everywhere. So I thought it was a nice mix of like, oh, this is intriguing, but also there's like the suspense happening in the present. I thought it mixed pretty well. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't have to talk spoilers, but I can just speak for. I'll ask in general terms, and if you've read the book, you'll get it, and if not, just go read the book. But some of the surprise reveals, did you see all of them kind of coming, or did anything kind of surprise you?
Um, hmm. I had suspicions, I guess. I mean, it wasn't like, yeah, I mean, you can kind of like some of the characters, without spoiling anything, right? Some of the characters know a lot about what's going on in the situation, and that kind of leads you to think like, oh, okay, maybe this person's in on it. Maybe they have dealt with this before, but um, I don't know. It's hard to tell who it is though out of the group if you are suspecting someone. I will say that I was
I guess
suspecting
it was kind
people.
of a demented version of Clue, maybe. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
But this is one fucked up Colonel Mustard.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like wow, this guy is got some
that's
issues.
how we should have marketed it.
Yeah,
would that be a good cover for you, Chris? If we had a murdered Colonel Mustard with in the hotel
with a candlestick.
Does that offend your sensibilities? The candlestick.
Put Mike's name on it. Put Mike's name on it, saying "one fucked up Colonel Mustard."
Yeah,
Mike, comic news.
Yeah.
One fucked up Colonel Mustard.
Yeah.
Quarterly Tales of Terror.
Yeah. That's but I think I mean I was suspecting someone, but it's hard to really pick it out of the group because they all seem to have a connection to what's going on, right? And they're all very shady. So like
connections are a big part of a big part of the plot in terms of who's connected to who, and you reveal it gradually throughout. You throw people off the chase sometimes with red herrings, and maybe it was this one, maybe not. But your gut's telling you something, and it was my hope, just speaking generally for readers, maybe you can tell me off air what you thought, but it was my hope that if you were listening to your gut, the story would confirm your gut for the end a bit. So
right.
That's it. When you're writing and people talk about your twist, and not every story has to have a twist, but when you're writing a story with a twist, it's not a complaint when someone says, I saw this coming. Mm-hmm. If they didn't see it coming, then that's great. But if they did see it coming, it's also good because you intend to leave those breadcrumbs that if the writer leaves them and the reader follows them, they'll maybe both arrive at the same conclusion.
Mm.
So that was kind of what I was thinking with that, and then just figuring out how to combine the past and the present, and then end it, maybe leave you wanting a little bit more, I hope.
Mm. Yeah. I for sure I want to see where that story goes at the end, right?
Well, I can say that this was just a one shot. There are no plans or was never any mention that it would be anything more than a one shot. I can speak in more spoilery terms later of how the story changed as we were working on the outline, but we ended up deciding to kind of leave it on that note. We liked leaving it on that beat of asking a question, and the question is what a writer should often leave the reader asking is what happens next.
Okay. Yeah.
So I hope to leave it. I hope that was a goal, to leave that story with a question of what happens next, because I may not even know myself.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to know, and that's how we'll end up writing the next one if they ask.
Awesome. Well, hopefully they do. And I mean, the best place to send our listeners and watchers is, you can ask at your local comic shop, right? It's in Diamond Previews right now.
Yeah, local comic shop. Ask for all 3 covers if you want.
Yep.
I think you can order it directly off Zenescope.com, and then you've got your digitals available. It's already up for pre-order in Comixology even right now,
Yep.
so you can check it out there too.
And just again, where can we send our listeners if they want to follow all the stuff that you're doing and your podcast that you do?
I think jsandlin.com will be the best place to go. That's where I've got everything kind of laid out and announced. So when I forget, I can just pull it up and look on the main page. Mm-hmm. And that's what my friends are telling me is not an excuse for keeping a calendar. But that's how I remember things sometimes. It's how I've been keeping track of this because Holmes has been at the top of the page. And if you scroll down, you'll see coming in July, I've got my first book with Black Box Comics. It is a fantasy adventure called Gin Hunter. And it was just listed on CBR.com's #1 anticipated indie title for 2021.
Oh, awesome.
So you can see that in July. Yeah, it's about Zara the Mage Hound and her faithful sidekick Benu the Phoenix searching the realms for a rogue Elder Djinn before he's granting wishes for these mortals that's leading to a great disasters and an upset of the cosmic balance. And the only one who can save the world is her ex-girlfriend, but they've not talked in centuries. It's just a whole thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but very relatable, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the whole going to talk to an ex.
Yeah.
That's rough. But you're like Frodo with the one ring, and you got to go make up with Samwise if you're going to make it up that mountain, and it's not looking good.
Yeah.
There's birds hanging around, but they can't just fly you to the end. It's even the same there. I loved making the characters for that and working with Demetrios Zakaris, CEO of Black Box. So big shout out to him. Follow him on Twitter at Black Box Comics.
Yeah, well, and we'd love to have you back when that's coming out too and talk more about your project. So
I promise not to be 20 minutes late from getting lost in the woods next time. Actually, I can't make any promises now that I think about it.
we try not to either.
Come calling.
Yeah, that's
calling, my friend. That's right.
So everybody out there, all those links will be in the show notes down below to Jay's website. I'll have a link to his Twitter account and a link to check out the book at previews.com. So make sure to click on that and check it out. Jay, it was a pleasure having you on. The book's really good, and we hope you have a successful launch with it.
Yeah.
Hey. I saw you had let's all raise our glasses. I saw you had a purple cup too.
Yeah, I got a purple one here. Cheers.
Cheers, mates. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.